We've got awesome experts from Brightspot today to help us do that. Tiffany and Tom are going to help us understand how to create ethical content in this AI world. And well, Tiffany, Tom, I'm just going to turn it right over to you and let's get this party rolling.
All right. Yes,
All right,
this sounds
thanks.
great. Yeah, thanks for having us. We are all about this topic too, because, well, that's the world that we live in many ways at Brightspot. And I myself am a marketer too. So this has been a very near and dear to my heart topic as well. And I definitely want to say hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this conversation that I think we're all grappling with now. You know, me from the marketing side, and even Tom, he comes from the product world too. You know, what does ethical content creation really look like in this AI fueled world? And I would even say AI obsessed world now. Right, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the hype, but there's some real nuance here. So I think it's going to be a fun and honest discussion.
Yes. And as mentioned, Tiff and Tom, I actually like to go by Tiff, so I like that, Tiff and Tom. We're here with you guys. I'm a product marketer here at Brightspot. I've spent pretty much my entire career obsessing over how marketers, just like myself, can work smarter and faster. I've been an early adopter of AI tools and technologies, and I've actually, even as a product marketer, fun little fact here, been on 2 first-to-market AI capabilities. First at Indeed, where we created the first matching algorithm for automatically connecting tech candidates to tech recruiters. And it was really cool because it adjusted based on both tech recruiter and candidate behavior. I know the hiring space has been a real tricky one for AI in particular. But then I also, during my time in the influencer marketing space, was on a platform that actually developed the first generative AI search for influencer marketing managers to source influencers. So lots of AI in my world. And now here I am working with Tom day in and day out on getting AI into the CMS users' hands.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Tom Neff. I'm a principal product manager here at Brightspot. I lead our AI capabilities on our platform team. So as you can imagine, I've been deep in the weeds on how AI is included in our platform, how we govern it, and advising our customers on how to help their teams avoid some of the common pitfalls in AI use.
Yes, and it's been so interesting for us at Brightspot too. We work with such a diverse set of customers. We've got our media customers, we've got our software companies, we've got manufacturing and so many others that we support. And it's really interesting even to see just the diversity of who's adopting AI, where and how, and who has more concerns over AI adoption. It's been very interesting to say the least. So for today, sorry, I'm already teasing into our agenda. We are covering lots of good stuff. First of all, I'm going to dive into AI's role in content marketing. We've got some good thought leadership for you all. You're content marketers, a lot of you, of course, you love that. We're also going to talk about AI slop and flops. And if you're wondering, what does that mean? You're in for a treat. We're going to go over some real world examples of AI fails in the market. And then we're also going to then move into Tom really getting in depth for 3 ways that content marketers can use AI with integrity. So, and Tom, sorry, excuse me.
No, you're good.
And, sorry, Tom, I'm so sorry. Please, Tom, dive in, jump in.
I was going to say, our hope is that we'll be able to show you some real world examples, share with you some stuff that we've heard from our clients, and of course our personal opinions too. It's hard to avoid that. But we really hope this feels more like a dialogue than us lecturing at you.
Yes, exactly. Hence why I just spoke over Tom, because we're going for definitely a podcast-like experience. Again, we don't want you guys to feel like we're lecturing at you. So I love this term. Has anybody yet, I'm curious, heard of shadow AI? You can say to yourself if you have or not. So there's this thing happening in the market. I myself was guilty of it for over 18 months at a previous job, shadow AI usage. We know this is everywhere, right? People are using AI tools unofficially and unsanctioned without leadership even knowing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for the leaders in the room, AI tools are now proliferating faster than any one of us could keep track of. Entirely new products, new features in existing tools, new experiences. It's going to be happening in every org, whether you're fully aware of it or not.
Yeah, and that's why, I appreciate this data too, because, it's showing exactly that. We see 49% of digital workers are already using at least one sanctioned AI tool in their daily work. But then on the flip side, 2 out of 3 of those are also using unsanctioned self-selected tools completely outside of IT oversight. And that's data is actually from my friends at Gartner, their Hype Cycle 2024 report. So this number could look, a lot worse now too. It could be even more folks now using unsanctioned AI tools in the workplace. But, I will say that shadow AI isn't the problem itself. It's really just a symptom of not having an AI strategy that's fully governed and really thought out, and, having that alignment between both leadership and the knowledge workers using the AI on a day-to-day basis. And, I think when we look at the companies that are doing it right, especially the ones that we work with, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, it's really interesting to see the diversity among AI adoption and AI governance based on industry. But, the ones that have an AI strategy, number one, but also is human first. So they take on this perspective that it's not about replacing people or pumping out as much AI generated stuff as possible. I think it's really smart, right, Tom?
Yeah, ultimately, we're finding that companies who embrace the goal of having AI support their creative process rather than fully replace humans end up having better results. Important thing to keep in mind, though, is that human oversight is ultimately what's going to keep your content trustworthy, authentic, and effective, and ultimately protect your brands.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more too, human in the loop. It's one of our guiding principles here at Brightspot for everything that we develop too. And if we want to talk about the exact stat here too, especially if you're a digital leader, definitely think about the fact that 50% more likely your employees will be to be high performers when your organization takes a human first approach to AI. And I do think, the organizations doing it right are also being thoughtful and sensitive about how people feel about AI too. I actually have this really great stat from Gartner's marketing community that I'm a member of. And they asked, do you view the impact of generative AI on creativity? So how do you view that? And 53% said it hampers true creativity. So I think we all have to keep in mind that when we're working with talented marketers, when it comes to AI, they don't want it to take away that creativity that makes them as a marketer special, but also their work really high quality too. So a little lesson for the leaders in the room too. You guys probably already are doing this too. So time for a poll. Let's get the real, raw, and honest truth from you guys. So this isn't being documented anywhere, so you won't get in trouble, I promise. But how much of your content includes AI-generated copy or images? Is it A, none? I haven't started using AI yet. Is it B, some? I'm experimenting here and there. Or is it C, a lot? It's part of my regular workflow. Or is it D, most or all? That scares me. I really rely heavily on AI for content creation. So go ahead and go into the poll, y'all, A, B, C, or D. Let's find out. We've got about 60 people who've submitted so far.
Oh yeah, those responses are coming in fast.
I know. Wow. Oh, this is a spicy topic. This is very high submission rates, guys, for a poll and a webinar. Ooh, spicy. Well, let's look at. Oh, and I guess I should go ahead and tell you guys mine. I'm a C. It's definitely part of my regular workflow. So now let's see what y'all said. And 56%, wow, 60% of y'all have submitted. Great job, y'all. Ooh, you're into this topic. So, drum roll. It looks like some. I'm experimenting here and there. So 54% are in that some bucket. And then following behind that, the C's like me, 36%, a lot. It's part of my regular workflow. And I use our CMS here at Brightspot to manage our .com experience, blogs, product pages and everything. So it's a part of my regular workflow because it's built into the CMS for me. So it's kind of impossible to avoid. She's just there looking at me all the time, that little magic button. Oh, by the way, guys, I need to let you know I have personified my AI. I apologize. I couldn't help myself. I treat her like a coworker sometimes.
I do want to quickly shout out to Howard here in the questions. Yes, I'm in one of our little conference cabinets here at the office. Sorry, that looks like a mugshot.
Oh, spicy audience. You guys are fun. Yes, and he is. If you see people walking around by Tom, they're fellow Bright Spotters. So if you ever work with us, it could be someone you might work with on a project. So, all right. So here's the other one. This one's really painful. Does your leadership know about it? A, yep. They're fully aligned and AI is approved. Is it B? Kinda. I mentioned it in passing, maybe. Is it C? Nope, it's my little productivity secret. Or is it D? LOL, absolutely not. I'm running a shadow AI operation. So A, B, C, or D. What is your response, audience? Our content marketer thought of these questions too, by the way, guys. It's genius. They're so funny. All right, we're getting a lot of folks responding. I'm going to give y'all like another 30 seconds. So are you transparent about AI usage with your leadership or not, basically? And how transparent or how not transparent? Tom, are you using any unsanctioned tools that you haven't told anybody about?
No, I use ChatGPT from time to time as a research assistant, but less than maybe you might expect for somebody whose job is to build AI features.
Yeah, I'm dabbling with Perplexity AI, and I haven't put in the request yet to get it approved. Don't tell Ravi. It's our product leader. Don't tell him. All right. Wow. 65% of you guys have submitted. So yes, another spicy topic. Let's get our clap.
Wow,
Look at that, Tom.
Great. This is like everything we could hope for.
Yep. Fully aligned and AI approved, almost 80% of our attendees. That's great. I'm really happy for you all. And then we've got the little smarty pants here. Kinda, I mentioned it in passing, maybe 11%, almost 12%. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for playing along. It's fun to hear from your peers. I can't wait to use this internally when I share with sales, like AI adoption usage. This is going to be a fun data to share with our teams too. Love it. Okay, so let's go into another spicy topic. AI slop and flops, the trends you don't want to copy. And in case you're wondering what AI slop is, if you aren't on X all the time or have like an Urban Dictionary open all the time. So we say AI slop, we basically mean when high volume of generative AI, low quality content is being created. So little Urban Dictionary there, that's what an AI slop is. This is definitely one of my favorite sections. And, Tom, I don't know if you have any thoughts before we jump in.
I mean, we will have seen a number of these before. Some of them are kind of painful, but it's hard not to laugh.
Yes.
So let's just get into it.
Let's laugh at others' failures. Oh no, one of these is mine too, by the way. So this first one, this is all about AI washing, and that's another really, I think good term to be aware of too. It's basically when you're using AI and it's basically just washing the truth out. So like this company, for example, this was for an event, and they had used AI imagery and even language too for their event landing page. And they just made it sound so amazing, so beautiful, so modern. It just looked amazing, right? You wanted it, and a lot of people went to the event, but then when people actually showed up at the event, it did not match the hype. And so this Willy Wonka event was in the UK actually. And, this basically broke the internet. This went so viral. I mean, this is any PR team's worst nightmare. Pretty painful one, right, Tom?
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing that an organization might be able to get away with if they're, literally putting on pop-up events. But for any kind of company with true brand continuity, this would be a killer. You can't use AI to functionally lie to your customer base.
Yeah. And, I'm a product marketer, and so much of the work I do is messaging, right? And I always, one of my big best practices is whatever the messaging I'm putting in market needs to match what our product offering actually is. So, if you're going to allow AI to create content for you, as a content marketer, whether it be for an event, a campaign, or a blog or whatever, it needs to actually be a reflection of reality. Because in this case, the expectation that AI created did not even come close to matching up with this sad warehouse experience that the actual event itself was. Hurts.
Yeah, ultimately, sorry, Tiff. I was just going to say, ultimately, the problem itself here is not the AI. It's how it's being used to cover up a complete lack of substance.
Yes, exactly. So this next one, this one's from Microsoft. So they published an AI-generated travel guide for Ottawa. And, I think this is a good example. I say the AI slot machine, but really the AI slop machine. So the AI was just churning out so many articles like this. And this one in particular is really bad because they recommended a food bank as a stop on your vacation to Ottawa. So like not exactly a destination for tourists looking for a good time, right? Just did not get the context here.
Yeah, this is sort of a perfect example of how AI can generate text but completely be unaware of context. Uh, it'll summarize and suggest things, but fundamentally doesn't understand that a food bank isn't an appropriate destination for a vacation.
Yes, exactly. And a human would have understood that. And I think the lesson here too is that we can't just, I know people say, oh, you need to review your AI content. But I actually want to take that a step further and use the word vet. And why do I say vet over review? Because review just suggests this quick skim, right? But vet implies something deeper. You're really checking for accuracy, context, appropriateness, tone, and just really ensuring that it meets your brand and audience standards. Because in this case, it like did not meet audience standards whatsoever. So when you use AI generated content, whether it's a travel guide or marketing content, don't just read it, vet it like you would the piece of work from even like a junior team member who's still learning the ropes. Right, Tom?
Yes, you're freshly hired college intern who's kind of a bullshitter.
Yes, or your sales team, that too.
Yeah.
I kid. I love sellers. I was a seller at one point in my life. So, all right. So this next one, Coca-Cola, one of the most iconic brands for creating creative work, right? Their creative ad work has just been, well known forever. And in this case, they decided to create a 100% AI generated Christmas campaign. And then the worst part is not only was it 100% AI generated, but they also bragged about it. There was like a little call out in the ad that said like 100% AI generated magic. And it just, for being known for great creative work from humans to just completely push the human out was just not a good look. Not a good look.
Yeah, I will say, while the ad itself was generic, kind of soulless, there is something to say for them getting there first. Of course, only one organization gets away with that. And so don't repeat this again. Don't repeat
Exactly.
attempt.
Yes. So, make sure you're putting in the craft, care, and authenticity, because this case, it was missing authenticity, especially for the Coca-Cola audience who expects an authentic, heartwarming ad that's not made by the robots. And then this last one, I told you guys I was going to put in a own personal misfire. So again, product marketer here. And I do love using AI to speed up my copy drafts. And this was actually, I think almost 2 years ago. I was so thrilled with this clever, punchy, and creative word that AI gave me, craft. I was like, oh, that's so genius. Craft your marketing strategy, craft your social strategy. I just thought it was genius. And let me tell you, I overuse and abuse this word because I thought it was genius and fresh until I was doing competitive research. And I noticed all my competitors were using the exact same language. So what felt unique and fresh at first that ChatGPT gave me actually ended up becoming white noise very quickly.
When everyone's using the same models, we're all drawn from the same well. So if it sounds cool and unique to your ear, it's probably being served up to everyone else as well.
Exactly. So, look, AI can help, but your real edge is still human originality. So I think it's important to do your homework when you're using AI and even just scrutinize what you're doing with it in context to your competition, right? So whoever your competition happens to be with whatever industry you're in, go look at the same kind of content they're making and see if they're using some of the exact same language as you and do the opposite of that so you don't become white noise. That would be my recommendation. So I think it's time, Tom, that we get into some really meaty stuff.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty of it a little bit here. So when we talk about ethical AI, we're really talking about human first AI, which means we're not just talking about like compliance or exercising caution. We're talking about building an AI practice that protects what makes your content yours and ensures that your audience feels seen, respected, and understood. Fundamentally, ethical AI isn't about saying no to tools, no to AI adoption. It's about saying yes, but also setting conditions that will keep the content creator in the driver's seat and your audience at the center. So here are some strategies for trying to make that happen. First off, make sure that you have a human in the loop. You can never let the AI create content and send it directly to the web. You should always be, exercising a healthy amount of skepticism about the content that your AI creates. Again, like as we've highlighted in some of these previous examples that Tiff went through, like you can't trust the AI fully yet, and honestly, we don't know if we ever will be able to. AI has a tendency to hallucinate, to create a full story. So we should try and use it in places where it will be most effective. So one, like brainstorming angles, using the AI as a research assistant is great. Put ideas in your head, but then use your own creative juices to actually communicate those into like a real piece of content. Two, like rewriting content is something that AI is excellent at. It's really good at preserving facts throughout a rewrite for tone. So, we recommend that our customers should consider writing once, having a human write it once, and then having the AI specialize it for unique audiences as a great use case. And like finally here, summarizing any long form piece of content and reducing it into a much more digestible format is something that AI is great at as well. So consider, the example I give you here. You can take a white paper that someone at your organization wrote and have the AI digested into condensed talking points or a blog post, etc. Again, like that allows you to leverage the fact that AI will typically preserve facts and statistics from whatever text corpus is put into it without making up a bunch of additional fluff. As like the key takeaway here, we think that like AI should never replace the marketer as the creative or strategic decision maker in your process. You should be using it to lighten the load on your team for things like research, first drafts, and analysis, but you shouldn't be outsourcing key human features like judgment or empathy. I don't know, Tiff, you have anything to add?
Yeah, on the summarizing front, I like always give people TLDRs now thanks to AI. It used to take me forever to make those TLDRs, and now I always do it. No matter what I'm communicating or who I'm communicating to, I always give them a TLDR if it's longer than a page, always. People love me for that. I'm verbose, so I can talk a lot. AI sometimes helps edit me down. I'm grateful for that, actually.
So just quickly, a little bit about how we're trying to further this here at Brightspot. So we've built out functionality inside of our CMS to try and make the process of using AI towards its strengths more easy. For instance, we have functionality to allow users in a small number of clicks to quickly generate audience variants of content.
And Tom, I have to tell you, this for me has been just a game changer. Like for 18 months, I was using ChatGPT, swiveling over here, and then I'm coming back to whatever system, I was inputting content into, and then swiveling back and forth and back and forth, and being at Brightspot and having the AI functionality directly in the CMS where me and my colleagues are creating content. This is where we're publishing our blogs, our web pages, has been just such a time saver. And I also love it because we use it for experimentation purposes as well too. So I think for all of you, when you're using, a CMS or DXP or whatever you're using for publishing your content, like if your provider's not doing this for you already, you need to ask them to build in AI functionality that will enable you to bring your own key. So if your company has like an OpenAI account you want to use, or we'll give you the transparency on what AI model they're using. We do that. We give lots of transparency on that front. And then that way, so you can feel really comfortable and confident about your team using AI within the tool, right? And again, saving that time from swiveling. I mean, if you think about context switching, you lose like 9 minutes sometimes switching from one system to another. And I have really liked this for experimentation as well. So if you do A/B testing, it drums up variations based on the first one that the human wrote, but then gives you more variations to then go use for A/B testing. That's actually one of my favorite things. It's like my optimization dream. And I'm not swiveling. Oh, to kill the swivel is the best.
Yeah, I want to say that, I want to highlight that's been core to our approach here at Brightspot is we should try and put the tools right within the environment where you're creating your content already. There shouldn't need to be any context switching. But moving on, our second principle here is that we believe that transparency is essential to ethical AI use within your organizations. So our goal is to help you bring AI out of the shadows into the light. I mean, up here at the head of the presentation, we had that poll, and your orgs are doing great with over 70% of you having approved AI strategies and approved tools within your organizations. That's awesome. That's just step one. Step two is making sure that you have great auditability trails around AI-generated content and how your users are interacting with the external models. So we don't recommend that you implement like particularly rigid rules, but there are a couple things that we think are essential. So one, you should have an AI governing body at your company, someone who can review, propose new tools, review partnerships with model providers, et cetera. Two, you should have well-defined roles and permissions within your tools on who can use AI and how. Three, you should be integrating your AI tools into your main platforms for content creation. As we just mentioned, it helps with efficiency, cutting down on context switching, but it also gives you a way of like tracking how all of your tools are being used. And four, you should be performing AI audits and viewing reports of how the tools are being used, ideally with a dashboard. Tiff?
Yeah, the fourth one is my favorite. Being able to give, for a while, I was like the black box of like AI adoption. Like people were like, wait, where are you using it, Tiff? And they would like always ask me this. And it's kind of hard for me to like, verbalize that exactly. And it's been nice having the ability to audit my AI usage and having reporting available with it. And I think, Tom, the next slide you're going to show, this is what it is in particular. It's this awesome dashboard where you can actually see how you're using AI and who's using it and how much and what models. I think that's the biggest thing too. Like, how can we push our AI strategies forward if we're not fundamentally just measuring how and where everybody's using AI? So it's really great transparency. And I think it's important, whatever that next phase of AI looks like for us as marketers, I think we need to know how, where, and who's using it to even think about the next phase.
Yeah, so at Brightspot on the platform team, we built this AI audit dashboard where, as Tiff mentioned, anytime any user interacts with one of the AI models from within the CMS, we capture that transaction essentially. And we store those details to show to administrators here. We've also been able to, through leveraging a product that AWS provides called Guardrails, we built a feature that allows you to selectively block prompts or responses that contain potentially harmful information, whether that's PII, hate speech, and additionally other things that you could define. For instance, if there's language specific to your brand that you want to always flag when it comes back from the model or is used in a prompt, you can have that be automatically blocked or quarantined as well.
And I love this, Tom. This is protection for individual contributors. Say, you get a new hire that's recently out of college. You're protecting them by doing this. That's like a reason, I think a big AI fail, like a big mistake, could be a reason for someone to lose their job potentially, right? That's awful to think about, but it is. You use AI in the wrong way and you put in PII or hate speech by accident on your website because you're new, you're young, and you didn't take the time to review it. You could really get someone in huge trouble. And I just think this is a wonderful way of giving someone protection as an employee to feel comfortable enough to use AI as well too, and not have some really negative repercussions career-wise because of AI usage.
Yeah. So finally, we think that the best way to ultimately lead to successful AI adoption is to support your existing teams without adding more complexity. So again, ultimately your AI success is going to depend on the people who are using it. It's not possible yet for the AI to literally do all of our jobs, nor am I sure that it will ever be. So for now, we have to focus on empowering the people who are actually going to be using it every day. And we have to recognize that not everyone is going to be an AI expert out of the gate. They might need some education, some training. So like first here, you should definitely be reassuring your teams that AI will not and probably cannot replace them. That fundamentally we do still need the human in the loop. The goal here is just to use AI to accelerate their creative efforts. In order to help that along, we believe that you should be training your teams on what AI can and can't do well. And we talked about some of the core use cases where it's most effective right now a couple slides ago. It's probably important to be having those conversations internally, letting folks know where they should be using the tools, what it's good at, etc. And finally, train them to spot the common AI tells. We covered some of the fail cases earlier. I mean, I love Tiff's craft example. So like overuse of cliches, vague intros, those dreaded bullet points that OpenAI loves, etc.
Oh yeah, the tells for me, overuse of M dashes. Yes, the cliche. If I see game changer one more time in the B2B marketing space, I swear, I can't. Oh, and those awful emojis. Like I do love emojis. Don't get me wrong. I abuse emojis a lot in my life, but yeah, the diamond emoji, ChatGPT just is obsessed with the diamond emoji. So I would recommend if you're using ChatGPT for even internal like communications, like get rid of the emojis, watch out for too many M dashes, cliche language. Like it's okay to use AI, but I think that the takeaway here is you don't want someone to read it and say that was generated by a robot, right? Like you want to fool people that it was 100% human created.
And yeah, I will say it's my hope that this kind of training and education is something that will become less and less necessary as time goes on. As the models get better, we should be able to let them work with slightly less supervision over time. That's a big, that's the rosy image of the future, and I'm an eternal optimist, so I'll stick with that. Yeah. So like in Brightspot, we've tried to put our AI tools directly into places in the CMS where your content creators will use them. So basically, like every field in Brightspot that supports text has AI built directly into it, and that's allowed us to have our content creators like Tiff and her team work like very quickly inside the CMS. We have also gone a step further though in that content creation experience and allowed our individual users to do things like create their own essentially like meta prompts based on their previously created content. We call this an author persona. So, now when you include that, it tries to make the output from the model more closely match your actual tone, sound more like you. So it requires less editing.
And I love this one. Our Ravi, he's our chief product officer. Guy's amazing. You should follow him. Ravi Singh on LinkedIn. Very innovative. He was part of auction.com. He's very successful. So he's great. And we ghostwrite for him sometimes on our website, and we have an author's persona for Ravi. So we've picked some of the articles that he actually wrote. It trained up, so to speak, on Ravi's tone and language choices and whatnot, but then it also still matches up pretty well with our bigger brand messaging too. So that one's a big one I love. And I'll call out too on each field. So for headline, subheadline, body, you can see specifically if AI was used to generate that copy at all too. So it's also good for review process. You're like, oh, that was AI generated. I should look at it, or we used AI for that. Let's give it an extra look too, because it could be potentially risky not to.
Yeah, that speaks back to the topic we were talking about just a minute ago of accountability and auditability. We tried to make it easy to identify in the CMS any kind of machine generated content.
Well, Tom, this was great. I love all the detail that you went into on this, and even just showing some inspo on the product side.
Of course.
And I'll go through this one. So present from Brightspot's content marketing team. So we have this really great checklist for using AI with integrity. So feel free to check this out. It'll be in the follow-up email as well, but just 6 ways to use AI responsibly in your content workflow. So definitely check this out. It's a really great article, and feel free to peruse our website for more articles. There's another cool one I want to give a little shout out to, generative engine optimization, that our digital web analytics expert Tim wrote. That's another really great one, especially if you're freaking out now about SEO versus GEO optimization, because that world is getting crazy too. Maybe that'll be a follow-up webinar for us with CMI. That'd be a good one, right?
Yeah, sounds like fun. So that concludes our prepared statements for today. But we are ready now to take any questions from the audience. So I'll pass it back to our
Robert.
MC.
We told Robert he should jump in too. So if you guys have burning questions for Robert,
I'm enjoying very much that's the end of our prepared statements for today. I'm going to continue to give you heck for that for a long time, my friend.
Yeah.
We have a lot of media clients. We can't help ourselves.
Yeah. That was awesome. And as you might expect it, yes, it resonated very much with me. I'm going to steal my opportunity as host and ask you a question about, because I literally just wrote about this, which was with regard to the shifting nature of what a content audit looks like, right? I mean, I literally just had an article come out on CMI's blog on this the other day, where I talked about this exact thing, which is, when we used the classic content audit, especially if we were deploying a new CMS, or if we were thinking about content management in any way, was always, you were always looking for the rot, right? The redundant, the outdated, or the trivial, right? And it was basically, like you were saying, a review where you would say, okay, are we keeping, are we deleting, are we throwing, are we truncating, are we getting rid of the less traffic site? But now it's a different, what we have to realize is the search that we're doing, that where our content is being emerged, the classic search is this quote engine, right? Where our own words were regurgitated back up to us on the front page of Google or Bing, if we were so lucky. And now it's not that. It's not our own words being regurgitated back. It's what the AI thinks about the words that we regurgitated, right? And so it's, what are we teaching, basically? And so we have to ask those different questions when we do a content audit that say, okay, what is the context for this? How is this going to be interpreted? And it changes the nature of metadata. It changes the way that we tag. It changes the way that we really look at content creation, full stop. I would love for you to drill a layer deeper into those content audits, that idea, and how it plays into structuring our content slightly differently in the world of, where AI is going to interpret what it is we're doing.
I mean, I think here's the fear that I have. It means we can trust nothing, and everything has to be just audited to just a so much deeper level. Right. I mean, I think about a media partner that we have that they deal with syndicated content. And unbeknownst to them, a piece of syndicated content came their way that had never been a problem from this partner before, that was 100% AI generated and was inaccurate, like completely inaccurate. And luckily someone caught it, but it was a barely got it caught too kind of situation. So, we're working on automated AI automations for reviewing and moving content through the workflow. So we're thinking about where AI can supplement that, because we also are acknowledging humans are going to maybe in a new way have to review content. So where can we automate with AI throughout that audit process safely, but then also keep the human in the loop to make sure there aren't any big mistakes that happen too from content creation. And Tom, I don't know if you want to add to that. I mean, Robert, that's such a complex topic.
Yeah, it's interesting, Robert. The part of that has tickled my brain is the notion that we don't really have that much control over the content that's ultimately being used to train these models after they've been trained. So let's say you do have a piece of content that becomes outdated. That knowledge, you take it down from your site, but that knowledge is still inside the model, baked in there. Right. So they haven't yet given us tools, the model makers, to try and expire information that's been used to essentially pre-bake the model, but maybe they should be providing that in the future. It's a really interesting question I hadn't actually considered yet, that we have no control over the information that becomes outdated.
And actually,
go ahead, Tiff, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. This is really interesting. So again, the individual I talked about, Tim, he's got this really cool generative engine optimization article on brightspot.com. He's actually putting together a whole dashboard for how we can measure how Brightspot is showing up in the LLMs, right? Is it accurate? Is there recency? He has like a whole 10 KPIs to measure. And, I almost feel like it's going to become a game of like whack-a-mole of like, oh, that's inaccurate. So like, how do we train the model on our own with the content that we put on our website to make sure that the model understands us right? Now, for us, and I think the B2B software space where we're going to, LLMs, read us all you want, great. Now in the media space where they want to build walled gardens where the LLMs can't pull from them, like, I don't know what they're going to do. It's a toughie.
Yeah. And it also changes the nature of, to your point, it changes the nature of search engine optimization as well, which is, the argument against gating content or those sorts of things was always, well, we want to make ourselves, we want to make our content as available as humanly possible so that it shows up in search. And that question is actually not so definitive when it comes to AI, right? Because it's not that your answer, the answer, you might be feeding the right answer, but somebody else may be getting credit for your answer, right? And so, of the three sources cited, maybe yours is the best answer, but it's not going to say, by the way, number one is the best answer. You know what I mean? It's going to say, here are the three things that we came up with this answer through. All three of them answer it in some way. And two of your competitors, maybe quite simply, like either give it lip service or answered it incorrectly, but it just sort of happened to interpret it the right way. So it's definitely a fuzzier question when it comes to all of this. And it's one that I firmly believe we shouldn't be leaping into. I want to get to a question that came through, which is, you talked about the KPIs that are starting to come through here. Is it just when we start thinking about protecting our brand voice, right? When different teams start using it in different ways, is it literally, is it better to create the standard and the process and just teach the people to do this in a particular way, or set up those guardrails like you talked about, the sort of the automated guardrails of how we use AI? How do we start doing this as different teams start? Because I think one of the biggest challenges we have in companies sort of blessing this is they don't know how people are going to use it, right? And so what are you seeing out there in terms of ways to start that process of, yes, protecting our brand voice, but as it gets dispersed among multiple teams who are going to be using content management systems to publish to all manner of channels?
Yeah, that's where roles and permissions, I think, Tom, is really important.
I was going to say, it's like, I think that fundamentally it doesn't change the core workflow problem, which, already existed. You need to have some defined process through which content goes from ideation to authorship to review to publish, right? Now we're just inserting a new tool into that ideation or authorship step. You still fundamentally need the review step. And there is, to a certain extent, an emerging opportunity to allow AI to participate in that review step as well. But that's where I start to think, well, let's let it bake a little while longer before we go.
And actually, one thing I would add to this, something really interesting that one of our solutions engineers actually and a strategist working together realized that, like, wait, we can set up configure prompts in our settings, right? In the back end, configure prompts, and then determine who can access what prompts. So things simply like proofread or rewrite for tone. So you can have pre-built prompts and provide those to only my, content creators can access these prompts. Only my, senior level content creators can access the open prompt where you can customize your prompt, like what we're used to ChatGPT. But, that's something we're doing that I think is really interesting. Roles and permissions on even the prompt level is really interesting to me. I think smart too. And it's going to be necessary, especially as more companies start getting sued over AI usage. And copyright, we're going to start getting, we're going to start getting in trouble for stealing people's content if we use AI content.
Yeah, it's coming from the world of CMSs where we face this problem. I so hear what you're saying is like, but you also depend on people's behavior, right? I mean, it always comes back to people, because there's nothing. It's like, oh, I'm not allowed to use this prompt. Well, I'll just route around the institution and open up a browser and pop in ChatGPT and get the same content, right? And pop that into the CMS. So
that's true. Our big tech giant clients, they got that on lock. They can control what people can access, and those are our big tech giants. But again, they're the big tech giants.
Yeah,
so
exactly. I would love to get your take, both of your takes, on the idea of this authenticity policy, right? The AI policy. I go back and forth on this, of whether a company should actually issue their AI content policy, because on one side, it's like, it's kind of virtue signaling, like, we never use AI, you know, all of our content is non-GMO, organically grown, you know, fed on corn, and, you know, free range content and everything, and yay. Or here's how we use AI, which then it doesn't really matter that you're disclosing it, because everybody's going to assume you're using it anyway. And so what is your take on sort of companies disclosing the use of AI through AI content policies on their website or that sort of thing?
I have a take on this because I come from the UGC space, where it was all about authentic content. That's what consumers want. They want authentic content. I think that there's going to be this backlash towards AI generated content, and the brands willing to stick their neck out and have like an authenticity, you know, mission that, you know, we keep our content authentic, we keep our content human first. I think consumers will prefer those brands over the ones that are obviously slamming out AI slop left and right. You know, I think the consumers will decide if you know, that's valuable to do or not. And I do think that they will want that. Yeah. But that's just my prediction.
Tom, any thoughts on that?
I would just say, like, to go one step further, consumers want content that feels authentic to them. So, like, you can still use AI to generate that kind of content. You just have to be thorough in your review to ensure that you aren't falling into any of those common AI-generated content traps, the tells, as they were.
Yeah. It makes me think of influencers
generating all kinds of different outputs. So it's a tough problem for the individual out there to try and identify every case of, oh, this was definitely generated by an AI.
Do you find that there's a widespread, you know, among your clients that are putting in content management system? Is there a widespread, you know, one of the early sort of promises of this was, we can use AI to detect the patterns that we need to check, right? So everything from as basic as something like Grammarly, right, to something that is more sophisticated, that's looking at our brand tone and editorial guidelines and jargon and acronyms and, you know, the way that we capitalize words and products and stuff like that. Do you find that there's a widespread usage of that, or is that still something that's still really nascent for most organizations?
Well, interestingly, we've been building functionality into the CMS to allow you to manage your brand guidelines for AI-generated content directly in the CMS. Because it turns out that if you give a model a large enough context window, you can pass in a lot of information about the tone or specific style guidelines of the output that it produces, and it'll generally follow those rules. Of course, the systems are not deterministic, so you can't make any guarantees, but just passing in, like, here are the rules we want you to try and follow, generally produces pretty good output. So
I've been geeking out on this, actually. So I'm a product marketer, and I've been in charge of the messaging and positioning frameworks, and they always live on like a slide deck or in, you know, a sheet. Right. And I'm like, I hope the brand marketing team and the content marketers are using it and looking at it. And for me, when I was using ChatGPT, I would feed in the messaging framework and say, please always align. And I'm like, why can't everybody just be on the same model as me that was fed the framework? And I'm finally getting that. I am finally getting it. You know, like, I literally want to cry. I'm like, I'm finally, this thing I've wanted for years now. So now I don't have to send out this framework and say, make sure to look at the framework. It's like, it's built in to the AI we're using, which is great. What's going to be. We're configuring it right now, guys. So check with me how well it aligns to the messaging and positioning in like 2 months.
Awesome place for us to sort of end this is a tool so good that it makes you cry. I think that's how we're going to remember this. Thank you guys so much. This was absolutely spectacular. I could totally geek out on this for hours and hours, but we have run out of time. So thank you all for joining today.